Welcome to part one of the Master Blaster class audio series, TXDAW Virtual Audio. We're going to get right into it. There are some things you need to download and install. First one, I will provide links in the description for these, and other links can be found on the website, which is also linked in the description of this video, and it's linked in all of my videos regarding the website. It's a direct link to the website that I put up. So let's get right into it. The first thing you need to install, and this is for the future, this is if you're going to run the RX DAP system, which I would highly recommend. That's for the RX side, but what we're dealing with today is the TX side. So the first thing you're going to need is the virtual audio cable, one cable, VB cable. It can be downloaded here. Download the zip file, extract it, and install it. It's probably going to ask for a reboot. The second thing you're going to need to install is Voicemeeter Banana or Potato. This is Voicemeeter Banana. So go ahead and download the zip package, unzip, extract it, install it. Probably going to ask for a reboot. And the other thing you're going to need is Cakewalk. So you need to go to the website, and what it's going to do is it's going to download BandLab Assistant, and then from there you can download the Cakewalk app. The link is right here in the description, and follow the instructions right here. It is a free DAW. Choose one to your liking and go with it. They all function the same. Below is a list of plugins I'm currently using for audio enhancements of TX and RX DAP system. Please see install instructions at the bottom of the page. And that should be pretty self-explanatory. Go ahead and install that. And now what you need are all of the VSTs. So if you go here, and this is on the same page as the DAW VSTs, here are the list of the VSTs. Go ahead and click on these, install these. Now when you install these to the Cakewalk directory. Make sure Cakewalk is installed first. You can download these, but don't install them until Cakewalk is installed. So what you want to do is you want to install them to C drive program files, Cakewalk. If you're on a 64-bit system, find the Cakewalk folder, click on this, and if there is not a VST plugins folder, create one and install all of your VSTs to that folder. Very important. Always install them to one place so you don't have to go and look for them. All right, once that's done, you're good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get into the sound card options and configurations. Now, really, I'm just going to show you this. This is a link that I put on the website under the sound cards page. This is just a general search. The only thing I will say is the M-Audio, these M-Audio cards can be quirky. I cannot use mine anymore. It keeps losing lock on the sample rate, and it's been nothing but a problem for many months now. So that's basically a brick. It's paperweight at this point. There are plenty of cards to choose from. One thing I will say about the cards is that I know Behringer. I have great luck with the Behringer cards and the Mackie cards. I'm running a Mackie right now. There are a lot of cards, as you can see. You do not need to spend a lot of money on cards. The one thing I will tell you, if it's an option that you're interested in, let me click on this Mackie right here, and I'm not telling you to buy a Mackie. All right. See that mix right next to the big silver monitor button? There's a mix knob there. That comes in really handy. So you can just spin that knob over to a direct input or the DAW to monitor the DAW. Generally, you're going to set that to DAW. Other cards have nothing but a button. So you have direct input or USB DAW. You can't use it. There's no knob, and I find that the knob is very handy. Not critical, because most of the time you're going to monitor it through Voicemeeter Banana, but it's just for the future. Okay, just to check things. It is very handy. what's easier? A button's easier, but I just like the knob better. That choice is up to you. Okay, whatever card you go with, go ahead and don't forget the drivers, install the drivers, and I'm going to show you how to configure everything now. So let me get over to the other screen. First thing you want to do is you want to find your card control panel. I'm on the Mackie, so I'll go ahead and start the control panel. This is the Mackie control panel. What you want to do is go to your buffer settings. Set your buffer settings loose to start with. I always go for stability over speed because nothing's worse than getting into a QSO and having the buffers fill and you start getting some buffering, stuttering, and all kinds of weird stuff happening. That's what you want to do first. So go, and I set mine. Every card is different. And this is handy because if you get some buffering, you need to go back to this. And you may need to change this. So this is important. So set your buffer settings accordingly. The drop down, I can go down to 8 samples. I can tell you with all the stuff I have running, I cannot run it. Even 128 samples gets a little wonky. It's okay, but it's not that stable. So you're going to have to figure that out for your particular card. Once that's done, what you want to do, this is Windows 10. Don't ask me how to get there on Windows 11. You need to find your sounds panel. On Windows 10, right-click the speaker icon, go to Sounds. Now what we need to do is we need to go through all of the settings in the sounds panel. So if you're on a transceiver with a USB cable connected and a built-in sound card in the transceiver, that means you will have what's called a USB audio codec in your sounds panel. Make sure that the radio is turned on, the power supply is on, of course. And the USB codec won't be there if the power supply is off. So make sure the power supply is on. Generally, the ICOMs, the way they work, the radio doesn't have to be on, but the power supply has to be on. So, first thing, go to your playback tab. Find the USB audio codec, right-click, Properties. Go to Advanced. Make sure exclusive mode is off, and this is for all of them. For every one, you can see mine's at 44.1. That is not correct. I set all of my sample rates. That's the other thing. Make sure all your sample rates are the same, 48 kilohertz. Find out what basically what your sound card can run at, set it there, and then set all of the other devices to that option. Now on the USB audio codec, you'll notice that there's only 3 options, 3200, 44.1, and I'm sorry, 32,000, 44.1, and 48 kilohertz. I set all of my stuff at 48. It just works a treat. Go ahead, make sure exclusive mode is off, and this is for all of them that we're going to go through. I'm not going to repeat that. Hit apply. And it's being used by another program because I have programs open, so I'm going to go ahead and click yes, and it might brain fart, so I may have to reboot everything. Okay. Now we go to my sound card. Go to Advanced, 48 kilohertz. Good. No enhancements, and that's all good. Now what we need to do is we need to come down to Banana, Properties, Advanced, 48 kilohertz. Beauty. Voice meter input, Banana, Properties, 48 kilohertz. Sweet. Now we go to the recording tab. We do the exact same thing. USB audio codec. Check that. Advanced, 48 kilohertz. Now here's one thing you're going to need to do. This is so you can monitor the radio virtually. There's 2 things we need to do, but this is the first one. Click Listen, and under Listen to this device, remember you should have installed Voicemeeter Banana, so it should be in there. What you want to do is you want to select Voicemeeter Input in the drop-down, right here, and then click Listen to this device, and what that will do is it will send the audio from the radio into Banana. so you can set up the monitoring function. And for the future, you can run the RX DAP system and pipe the audio through that and then back to Banana again. Look okay. Applying okay. Now, come down to your sound card in the recording tab. Right click, properties. Beautiful. Now, let me just mention, always check the listen tab in all of these. The only thing you should have set at this point where this box is checked is the USB audio codec on the recording tab. That's the only one. Everything else should be just whatever, default playback device, and this unchecked. If this is checked anywhere, you may end up with a loop. So make sure you check that. All right, especially on this, the recording tab is the only place you're going to see this option. You're not going to see it on the playback tab. So make sure that the USB audio codec is the only one with a checkbox, and it should be set to voice meter input. That's good. Let's go down to Banana. And disable this. That's my microphone for my camera. Right click, properties, advanced, no exclusive mode, 48 kilohertz. Listen, nothing checked. That's good. Properties, advanced, 48 kilohertz. Nothing. No exclusive mode. Nothing checked here. That's good. Beautiful. We are off and running. That is complete. We're not going to deal with the VB audio cable for now. That should be in there if you installed it. That's for the future. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to light up Banana. So go ahead and start Banana. Make sure your microphone is plugged into your card. And the first thing you need to do is set the drive level of your card. So you need to talk into the microphone and bring up the gain on the input where your microphone is plugged in on the card. And just look for, you don't necessarily need a green light. You just want to make sure you've got audio coming through there. It would be beneficial to plug headphones into that card as well. So once that's done, what you want to do is now Banana. What we have to do is we have to set up Banana to you have to set your hardware out. This is the very first thing you need to do. So you have your card, your sound card, which I would set, I call it my primary station card. It's the card that everything flows through. My speakers, everything are plugged into this card. Headphones, speakers, everything plays back through that. This is one thing I forgot to mention. It doesn't really pertain to the DAW, but it's incredibly important. Okay, make sure, go back in your sounds panel and make sure that station card, that primary card you're using, is set to default device. If it is not, and your speakers are plugged into it, when you go to a browser and you try to listen to a YouTube video, you won't hear anything. If your speakers are plugged into this card and your headphones are, make sure that's always set to default device. Same on the recording tab. You'll notice my card is default device. There we go. Now we need to set the hardware out. So go to A1 and select the ASIO driver for the card you're using. In this case, it's my Mackie ASIO driver. Make sure that is set. Check that. That'll light up. And it looks like I've got a conflict on line 2. And that went red because remember I had to change the sample rate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle this. I'm going to just switch this. Okay, that reset it. All right. So once your hardware's set on A1, come over here to A2, and what you want is WDM speakers USB audio codec. What this will do is this will send audio to the rig from the the DAW and Voicemeeter Banana. So that's going to become your TX audio feed. All virtual through the USB audio codec. We're going to get to the ICOM in a moment. Okay. Come over here to hardware input. Left click just underneath hardware input. It's going to open a window. And what you want is you could use either the KS if it works, if it appears in KS, or you can use a WDM. I always use a WDM. So what you want is WDM line, and that's going to be the line input of the card that you're using. That's where your microphone comes into. So mine is the Mackie Onyx Artist 1-2. Go ahead and select that. I'm not going to because I already did. And when you're talking to the microphone, you should see your meters light up. If this goes in red, then you've got an issue. And it shouldn't go in red, but it should just light up. Go ahead and select mono and select and make sure the B2 button is on right here. Alrighty. Next thing, come out over here to menu on Banana. Go to Systems, Settings, Options. Here is where I pretty much leave everything at default here. These are your buffer settings in Banana. It works for me. If you tend to get buffering, you may have to pull up, change the buffering on the WDM. And you can do that by left clicking on the 512 right here next to WDM in this box. And it will prompt you, basically ask you if you know what you're doing, and click OK or yes. And then it will open another window where you can set the buffer. So sometimes you may have to go to 1024. Sometimes you can run these tighter. It just depends on your computer and the system you're running. Like I said, I tend to run things very loose so that I don't have any stuttering or buffering issues. That's done. You don't have to click apply or anything. Just click the red checkbox and you should be off and running. Now we need to go to the DAW and get the DAW up and running. You should see meters moving right here. You won't see anything happening over here yet. You might, if your radio's on, you might see the meters moving here. So you should. If your radio's turned on and it's receive, you should see this meter moving. If you set the A2 correctly. I'm sorry, not the A2. If you set it correctly in your sounds panel, under the USB audio codec recording tab, remember, it said listen to this device, you checked it, and you set it to Voicemeeter input. So it's that receive audio from your ICOM or whatever radio you're using should be coming into Voicemeeter input. Now let me explain something. These are the virtual inputs. Voicemeeter VAIO is basically the input of Voicemeeter, virtual input. Voicemeeter aux is what handles the DAW. So now we're going to set up the DAW. So the first thing you want to do is go to, get over to the other screen. You want to come over here and you want to go to my website. And on the VST DAW downloads page, you want to scroll down. And this is right here is ESSB.CWP. This is a launch file that was updated on the 16th of June this year, 2023. What you want to do is download it and drag it to your desktop. Assuming you have Cakewalk installed and your VSTs are installed, right? You go ahead and you click that CWP file, it will open Cakewalk, and it should look something like this. Okay. I always go to view. I eliminate the control bar. I don't know why it always reappears, but it always does. It's really annoying to me. Okay, let's get Cakewalk up and going. So you're going to have to set Cakewalk up. Most likely, maybe not. So I need you to go to Edit, Preferences. The very first thing you need to do, you need to check this. If it's not set here, you need to set it here. So go to Edit Preferences, under Audio, top left corner, click Playback and Recording, and make sure this is set to ASIO. Now go ahead and click apply. I'm not going to do it because I'm using it to get my audio in here. I don't want anything to happen. Now go to driver settings and make sure this sample rate is set to 48 kilohertz. If it's any other sample rate, then the rest of your system is not going to work. Select 48 kilohertz, hit apply, go to devices. And what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down until you see Voicemeeter aux virtual ASIO 1 and 2. Make sure that checkbox is checked and make sure the output driver in this box is the same, Voicemeeter aux virtual ASIO. Okay. Hit apply. Okay, that is complete. That is done. One thing I wanted to mention, stumbled upon this by accident. Make sure that under playback and recording, make sure the suspend audio engine when Cakewalk is not in focus is unchecked. If that is checked, the minute Cakewalk goes out of focus, in other words, you click on something else, it will suspend the audio engine and you won't hear anything. It happened to me. I did it by accident. So make sure that box is always unchecked. Okay, that's done. So sorry, I'm getting a little excited here. Calm down. You can see I clipped right there. So I apologize if it distorted. It may have distorted a little. Okay. Now, once you're out of there, in this channel strip at the bottom, you'll see in and out. So the input, you want to make sure this is correct. So click the little drop down arrow and make sure and hover your mouse over this. It should say Voicemeeter aux ASIO. And it should be on VM-VIO 1 left. Make sure that if it's not, go ahead and select that. It'll put a check mark next to it, and that's done. Now hit the drop down. This is the output. So make sure this is Voicemeeter VIO 1 plus Voicemeeter VIO 2, 1 plus 2 stereo. Make sure that's checked. Last thing, this blue button right here, input echo, must be on. If it's not on, you won't hear anything. It won't go hot. So make sure this is on. Click it. That is done. Come back over to Voicemeeter Banana. Now, oftentimes, let me turn that off. Oftentimes, B bus 1, ignore these for now. Okay, just ignore those. These will all be unchecked at this point, and these will all be unchecked. Sometimes, to get audio running, you need B1 on. Now, B12 is on over here. Don't ask. I don't know how this works, why it works this way. But generally, you don't need B1 on. Now, for the Anon, if you're going to pass audio virtually to the Anon, and I believe the Sun as well, any full-blown SDR transceiver that runs on a sound card or virtual audio cables, VAC, it's called, B1 needs to be turned on. You can go ahead and turn it on. Just leave mine on. And now when you're talking to it, you should hear audio coming through. Or you should see audio coming through. See the meter moving right here, and your meters are moving in Cakewalk. She should be communicating. If it doesn't, close, save, click File, Save in Cakewalk, close it down, close Banana down, restart Banana, and relaunch Cakewalk. Normally, you don't have to do that. When in doubt, reboot. Always remember that. It's a basic computer stuff. When in doubt, reboot. You're having an issue, reboot. Restart it. All right? Okay, now to hear your audio, you can select A1, which remember your hardware outs is on A1. That's the Mackie ASIO driver, which is your ASIO sound card driver. So if you click A1, that is going to send your audio out to your sound card. So you should be able to put your headphones on, click A1. So turn on an A1. Wow. She is loud. I have my volume way up. Almost blew my head off. So you turn on A1, bang. You should have audio from your DAW going right to your sound card. So that's how you set up your audio. Okay. Before I get to the transceiver, there's one thing I wanted that I skipped over that is very important. Now, I'm sorry about that. I wanted to keep everything in order, but this is a big challenge for me. The VSTs. So your VSTs, if you installed all of those VSTs and you set them up in the VST plugins folder, that CWP file that you downloaded, the launch file for Cakewalk, that's all pre-configured. It should load all of those VSTs, and you should see no parentheses around these VSTs. If it asks you, if it prompts you to look for those VSTs, go ahead and click OK. You may see a box pop up with blue highlights in the VSTs. Go ahead and click OK. Once it loads up, if you see any parentheses here and you know for a fact that you installed those VSTs, here's what I want you to do. If you installed them if you created a folder in Cakewalk and you did not, well, let me rephrase that. If you had to create a folder in Cakewalk, let's say, and call it VST plugins, Cakewalk may not know natively to search that folder when Cakewalk launches, so it's not going to see the VSTs. So what you need to do is you need to go into, you have to remember where you put your VSTs, right? That's why it's important. Put them all in one place. Click Edit, Preferences. And if you go down the list here, you will see VST Settings under File. Go ahead and click this. You can add, like right here, you'll see C Program Files Cakewalk stroke VST plugins. If that's not there, you can add that. So if you click Add, you basically navigate to that directory. Okay? And then what you do is you select that directory and you're going to be prompted to click OK. And click OK, and what will happen is it will add that in there, and hit Apply and OK, and wait a few moments, and you will see Cakewalk will do a scan, and it'll rescan, it'll scan that directory, and it should activate all of the plugins in there. All right, that could be very frustrating for people. They'll see the plugins there, but they don't work. That's the reason why. Okay, we're moving on. We're almost done. Actually, let me show you this really quick. This is handy because you won't even be using the radio at this point when you do this. So let's say you want to edit a plugin. You can left click on this plugin and it will open the plugin up. So you can go in and edit it, make sure all your drive levels are set appropriately. Keep in mind, everything you change, this is all signal flow. So everything you change, if you change something here, you're going to have to reset the levels here. You're going to have to reset the level here and on the way down, all the way down the chain. You have to do it on an analog rack. You have to do it every time you make an adjustment. So don't forget that. Now to bypass a plugin, you can hit this little power button right here. To bypass all the plugins, you can click this little button right here in top left corner in the effects rack, and that will bypass the entire rack. Now, if you want to change the order of the plugins, you can left click and hold on the plugin and drag it up or down the chain wherever you want it to go. You most likely, as you start playing this, you will start doing that. You'll need to do that. Because it will, when you add a plugin, it'll put it in at the end of the chain, and that may not necessarily be where that plugin should be. Now, obviously, if you're running reverb, this is the ambience plugin. If you're running reverb, you cannot run that before the gate. This is the gate. This always has to be after the gate. Okay, you'll figure it out. Now, if you want to remove a plugin, you hit the little hover on the plugin, hit the little drop down arrow, and it will say delete, and you just click that and it will delete the plugin. If you want to add a plugin, you hit the little plus sign here, insert audio effects. You don't have to click on it, just hover. And you should see some plugins that you use or the system may be familiar with, but you're going to have to navigate down through this list. A lot of times these plugins will appear in the uncategorized section all the way at the bottom. Come over here and you'll see all the modern expander, exciter, blah, 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 BritPressor, blah, blah, blah. All right. That concludes that. Now we're going to get over to the radio and we're going to complete the setup. This will allow you to pass audio back and forth between the rig and other pieces and, between the software, the computer, back and forth. So here we go. Let me get onto the camera. Volume up. So the first thing, now this is an ICOM. For all of the radios, you're going to have to figure it out on your own. I have no idea. Don't ask. But on the ICOMs, I believe 7610 is very similar, 7300, whatever ICOM you're using. Go to menu. Try not to bump anything here. Set. Go to connectors. Okay, let me get to, okay, this is the top of the list. This may be where it opens. I'm not sure. So scroll down. First thing I would do is I would set your USB mod level to 100% right there. Data off mod. I have set to USB. Data mod. I have set to USB. And that's it. And what that will do is it will enable you to pass audio into the 7300 through the USB cable in the USB audio codec. So the first thing I want to show you is that, yes, it does work. Let me get back over to the other screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to key the radio, and you'll see Cakewalk. Cakewalk's working. And the meter is, you have deflection on the meter, on the voice meter aux. And you have your hardware out on A2 set to the speaker's USB audio codec, which is going to send the audio through the USB audio codec to the transceiver. First thing you want to do is make sure A2 is turned on. By default, it's going to look like that. Make sure A2 is on. Now, if I punch the key on the radio, I'm in a dummy load here. And let me get to, you'll see the ALC right here. If I punch the key, you'll see the meter moving. Test 1, 2, test, test, audio 1, 2, check, check, audio 1, 2, check. So we have audio. Yeah. There we go. Check 1, 2, audio 1, 2, check, check, audio 1, 2. So she's off and running, folks. That's all there is to it. The next stage will be the DAP system. But before that, anybody who's watching this that has a SDR, I'm going to go over that briefly. It's so simple. It's ridiculous. So I'm actually going to cover the sun right now. I'm going to show you how this works, how to set this up properly in the sun. And it's the exact same thing for the Anon or any of the SDRs that run on VAC or sound card. Okay, so let me get over to the other screen. Okay, so this is the Sun SDR2DX, the EE V2 software. I believe the V3 is exactly the same. So let's say you don't have a hard connection, in other words, a cable, which I have. I bring my audio direct into this because I use a rack. I don't use a DAW currently. I do use a DAW once in a while, but I primarily am on the rack. So I bring the line out of the rack into a direct box, and then I use a Heil cable, which is an a 3-pin XLR Heil, which is designed for a Yaesu. It's a Yaesu cable for an 857D, and it's the exact same pinout and everything for the Sun SDR2DX. So I pipe my audio direct in, doing it that way. However, if you want to use a DAW, I'll show you exactly how to set this. You want to go to Options, Sound Card. Go ahead and uncheck this. Go to ASIO. You want Voicemeeter Virtual ASIO, and this is the same for the Anon, any other system that you're going to use an onboard VAC in the radio to grab the audio from the DAW and pass it back into Banana. All right, Voicemeeter Virtual ASIO, select that, and for the output, you want the exact same thing. ASIO, Voicemeeter Virtual ASIO, click Enable, bada boom, bada bing. Now you'll notice that nothing's moving on this meter. Well, we haven't told the radio what to look at for an input. So if you go up here, you'll see mic 2. This is the analog input. So if I click this and I go to mic PC, now we should have audio in there. Oh, we do have audio. Beauty. I was looking at the wrong one. What a dink. Oh, good heavens. So if we go back here to mic 2, test 1, 2. So I still have audio coming in. But what I would recommend is I would make sure this is set to mic PC, because that's set to use the sound card. Okay. Make sure that's okay. Click apply. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So my driver levels is 0. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to just key up and make sure, if you watch, my meter is set to mic gain ALC. You should see, there we go. Okay, got severely upset. So I forgot that the icon was on. So now the radio is keyed, and there you go. We have audio coming from the Sun. So let me just let me unkey here and get back to the other screen. So this right here is where you monitor the audio from the radio. So if you click A1, this will send the audio out through the sound card. And this applies to the ICOM as well. So this is the final stage. Make sure you have audio coming out of the rig. So this is the Sun or any SDR. Click A1.
Any other check-ins?
Okay, so ignore the A3 I just turned on. This sends audio to OBS.
I got a QRP station. I have Bravo Juliet Golf. Let me get...
Okay, so that's working. We can come back over to the ICOM. Okay, you can hear audio from the ICOM. And unfortunately, I'm on a dummy load, so you really can't. You can hear a little noise in there. Here we go. Okay, you got ICOM audio. There you go. Sorry about that. I just wanted to show you. So remember, the A1s are how you hear everything. You can listen to the radio, make sure A1 is on, and make sure A1 is on to monitor your audio and to do the setup on the VSTs. That's it, folks. Have a great day, and we will catch you later. I will be back with some more goodies in this series. 7-3.